In today's episode, we are going to chat about the book Grit and Wisdom that ADP compiled, which is advice from accountants for accountants. And joining me is Darren Root, who was a contributor of this book and critical in helping us review some of the stories and selecting some of the very best of the best in the industry. So welcome, Darren.
Thanks, Heather. I'm glad to be here.
I'd be curious, when ADP came to you with this concept of grit and wisdom, what did that mean to you that we were considering going out there and collecting real stories from real accountants?
You know, you guys are really good at listening to what accounting firms like. And what I mean by that is it's always been said that accountants like to get advice from other accountants. And it's fantastic that you guys went out, talked to a lot of firms, collected the advice they were going to give, and put them into a book like this.
We were pleasantly surprised with the sheer volume of, let's call, submissions that came in with these stories. And it was interesting because we started to see that there were different themes. And what we did is, as we selected what was going to go into the book, so many of the stories were around people and connections. And you've consulted with thousands of firms, accountants. What's the importance of people in a firm?
I think without them, it's really hard to grow a firm. You know, there's a ceiling on probably each of us. And so you need people to make a firm go well, to function, to grow. And man, I don't know about you, Heather, but post-COVID, this seems like it's bubbled up to the number one issue that most firms are challenged with is finding and keeping people.
Now, we have the people aspect on the firm side, and yes, across the board, you can't pick up any publication or listen to any podcast like we're doing today without hearing the people aspect. What about the people aspect as well from a client connection? Because that's equally as important as we look at how a firm maintains or grows. What about that connection to clients?
You know, as we move into this AI world that we seem like we're rapidly moving into, you know, what's going to differentiate you as a firm? And I think it's the way that you interact and treat those who come to you. And I think it's always an important question to ask, what is it a customer really wants from you? Most firms have a menu of services, and hopefully somebody wants to buy one of those services. What I'm asking accounting firms to do now is ask the question, what does the client really want from you? And at the end of the day, I think they want to feel holistically served. They want to feel like they're doing all the things they're supposed to do. They're maximizing tax deductions. They're growing their business appropriately. So understanding the people that are coming to you and then helping them achieve their goals, I think it's where it's at.
How about your goals? So we talked about people in terms of the assets within the firms, our clients. What about you as a person, as that accountant that probably is looking to achieve some balance? Because that was yet another theme that continued to come in the stories that were shared.
You know, anybody that's been practicing in the profession for quite a while realizes that balance was elusive for a really long time. And again, I would say, you know, I co-authored a book with Michael Gerber. It was called The E-Myth, The Entrepreneurial Myth. And that's where I first really understood, because I grew up in the accounting profession. My dad had practiced before me. And so I thought you just were supposed to dedicate your life to this thing, no matter what that turned out to be. But once I started practicing, I realized that's not what I wanted. I wanted a business to support the way I wanted to live. And I think what we're starting to find, and we'll see stories in Grit and Wisdom, that most accountants want a business that supports the life they want to live. And it's just such an important piece of growing a business today.
Well said, Darren. And a special thank you to all of the accountants that took the time to invest, not just with ADP, but really your peers across the country. Countless people have benefited from the wisdom of you sharing that grit and wisdom and some of the recommendations to get through that and make your practices and your overall personal lives truly meaningful.